Queen Elizabeth I, one of history's most iconic monarchs, passed away in 1603, leaving behind a legacy as the Virgin Queen. Yet, her death remains shrouded in mystery, with questions that have lingered for centuries. After her passing, her closest advisors began sifting through her personal belongings, hoping to find answers. What they discovered, however, would send chills down their spines. Among her many letters was one that seemed out of place, an unopened, carefully sealed letter that had not been seen before. What could it possibly reveal? Could it have anything to do with her sudden, unexplained death? Or was there something far darker hidden in its folds? Did it contain a confession, a secret about her life, or perhaps the fate of England after her reign? Or even more unsettling, could it have revealed the truth behind the very secrets she kept hidden from the world? As we look back on her life, we'll uncover the tragic events that led to her untimely demise, and explore the possibility that the beauty secrets she so fiercely protected might have played a role in her health's decline. But first, let's begin at the beginning. Queen Elizabeth's early years, and the scandal that changed her life forever. Queen Elizabeth I was born in 1533, during a time of upheaval and uncertainty in England. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, was the second wife of King Henry VIII, a woman who, through her beauty and charm, caught the king's eye and sparked one of the most significant scandals of the 16th century. Henry's divorce from his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, had led to the English Reformation, a break from the Catholic Church, and a transformation in both politics and religion across England. Anne Boleyn was not only blamed for the king's decision but also for giving birth to a daughter, not the male heir Henry so desperately craved. Though Anne's position at court had seemed secure, her fall from favor was swift and brutal. In 1536, just 3 years after Elizabeth's birth, Anne was arrested and executed on charges of adultery, incest, and treason, charges that many historians believe were fabricated in a plot to rid the king of his inconvenient wife. At the time of Anne's execution, Elizabeth was only 2 years old. It was a traumatic event for the young princess, whose mother's death would haunt her for the rest of her life. Elizabeth was declared illegitimate by her father, a label that followed her throughout her early years and cast a shadow over her future. The king had no intention of allowing his daughter to inherit the throne, as he turned his focus to his other marriages in search of a male heir. In the aftermath of her mother's death, Elizabeth's life became one of constant political intrigue and danger. Her father, Henry VIII, was a man obsessed with securing the throne, and he had no qualms about sacrificing family members to ensure his dynasty. She lived in a world where betrayal was commonplace, as her father's marriages crumbled and many of her relatives, including her own siblings, were executed. The turbulent atmosphere of the royal court was never far from Elizabeth's mind as she grew up, surrounded by danger, betrayal, and the constant reminder that even a monarch's closest relations could be disposed of without a second thought. Elizabeth's life was shaped by the knowledge that at any moment her position could be challenged, and it was this constant threat of danger that would later define her reign. But instead of succumbing to fear or anger, Elizabeth chose resilience, and over time, she would prove herself a monarch like no other, ruling England with remarkable strength and wisdom. Queen Elizabeth I's image was an essential part of her reign. In a time when the monarch's appearance symbolized power, nobility, and divine right, Elizabeth's porcelain white skin became her trademark, an emblem of the ideal beauty of the English aristocracy. The Renaissance had established a strict set of beauty standards, and for women, none was more important than smooth, pale skin. It was a mark of nobility and elegance, signifying purity, youth, and authority. But Elizabeth was no ordinary woman, and her appearance played a significant role in maintaining the image of strength and dignity she cultivated as queen. However, Elizabeth's beauty came at a significant cost. In 1562, the queen contracted smallpox, a disease that left severe scars on her face and left her nearly bald. This was a devastating blow for a queen whose very image was a cornerstone of her power. Smallpox was a terrifying disease at the time, known for its disfiguring scars and high mortality rates. Though Elizabeth survived the disease, the aftermath was something she could never truly escape. Her once flawless complexion was replaced with pockmarked skin, and her hair, which had always been thick and luxurious, fell out in patches. In an era where image was everything, Elizabeth's struggle with her appearance became a matter of survival. To cover her scars and maintain the image of eternal youth, the queen turned to extreme measures. She began using heavy layers of makeup, including Venetian ceruse, a cosmetic made from white lead and vinegar. This cosmetic was notorious for its ability to create a flawless, pale complexion, but it came with a hidden danger. The white lead used in Venetian ceruse was toxic, and long-term exposure could have deadly consequences. Yet, in her quest for beauty, Elizabeth didn't hesitate to use it regularly. Despite the risks, Elizabeth continued to use the makeup, applying it thickly to cover her blemished skin. But this cosmetic ritual, meant to protect her image, may have silently contributed to her deteriorating health. Lead poisoning can cause various ailments, including muscle weakness, memory loss, and even death, all of which could have contributed to Elizabeth's eventual decline. As the years passed, her continued use of this toxic substance might have been slowly poisoning her body, leading to the health problems that plagued her in her later years. Queen Elizabeth I was not only known for her political acumen but also for her legendary beauty, which she meticulously maintained throughout her reign. As the Queen of England, her image was crucial, and maintaining it was considered part of her duty. To achieve her signature look, a perfect porcelain complexion, Elizabeth relied on the use of Venetian ceruse, a highly sought-after cosmetic. In the Elizabethan era, Venetian ceruse was a thick white paste made from a combination of white lead and vinegar. This makeup was highly effective at creating the desired pale, flawless skin that symbolized nobility and virtue. When applied to the face, it could transform even the most blemished skin into a smooth, porcelain canvas. It was a look that became synonymous with Elizabeth's reign, and her advisors praised her for maintaining such a regal and impeccable image. But this seemingly magical beauty secret carried a dangerous and toxic hidden truth. The problem with Venetian ceruse, however, was the lead. White lead, the primary ingredient in ceruse, is a highly toxic substance. Prolonged exposure to lead can have severe health consequences, including organ failure, neurological damage, and even death. Elizabeth, who applied this makeup regularly throughout her life, was subjected to the effects of lead poisoning over many years. Symptoms of lead poisoning include hair loss, muscle weakness, and memory loss, all of which were present in the Queen's later years, alongside increasing frailty, while Elizabeth's advisors and courtiers would have been unaware of the long-term risks of lead exposure. Modern scientists have revealed the full extent of the harm these cosmetics caused. Elizabeth also used other cosmetics that contained mercury, another dangerous substance. Mercury was used in some makeup removers, and it is likely that she used products containing mercury to remove the thick layers of cerus each day. The combined use of lead and mercury in her cosmetics could have been gradually poisoning Elizabeth, slowly deteriorating her health. Lead poisoning can also cause the loss of skin elasticity, leading to the premature aging of the skin. This would explain some of the more severe effects Elizabeth experienced as she aged, including her frailty and general decline in health. Her attempt to maintain an image of youthful beauty may have come at a much higher price than anyone could have imagined. The very thing that kept her reign strong, her appearance, may have been silently killing her in the autumn of 1602. Queen Elizabeth I's health began to noticeably decline. At the age of 68, she had ruled England for over 4 decades, and the strain of a long and tumultuous reign had begun to take its toll. Her once vibrant appearance and sharp mind were now showing signs of wear. She became increasingly frail, her energy dwindling, and her once commanding presence seemed to fade. Elizabeth began to withdraw from public life, keeping to herself more and relying on fewer people for advice. Part of Elizabeth's emotional decline stemmed from the loss of close friends and advisors. The deaths of several companions, such as Catherine Carey, one of her ladies-in-waiting, deeply affected her. Catherine's passing in February 1603 left the Queen even more isolated, as those closest to her continued to vanish. This compounded Elizabeth's already growing sense of sorrow and loneliness. In addition to the loss of her friends, Elizabeth's emotional state was marked by the lasting trauma of her decisions, especially the execution of Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex. Elizabeth had once loved Essex deeply, but his rebellious actions led her to sign his death warrant in 1601, a decision that haunted her until her final days. Elizabeth was known to have wept over Essex's death, and she often mourned him in private, regretting the role she had played in his execution. These emotional struggles took a toll on her physical health. Elizabeth had always prided herself on her strength and independence, but by the end of her life, even her refusal to seek medical help was a sign of her resistance to showing any vulnerability. One of the most telling aspects of her last months was her refusal to lie down. The Queen feared that if she lay down, she would never rise again, so she stood for long hours, her body weakening as she clung to her belief that rest would mean surrender. Elizabeth's mental anguish and sorrow, combined with her growing frailty, led to the Queen's final decline. Her body was not the only thing that withered in her last months, so did her spirit. The sorrow of her past decisions and the weight of her responsibilities as monarch slowly crushed her, leaving her exhausted, both physically and emotionally. Queen Elizabeth's final days were marked by a sense of both physical and emotional decline. By early March 1603, the Queen was a shadow of the formidable monarch who had once ruled England with such strength. She was frail, pale, and weak, and the toll of years of public duty and private sorrow had worn her down. Despite her deteriorating health, Elizabeth refused to show any sign of weakness. She had always been known for her resilience, but in her last days, that resilience became tragic. One of the most striking aspects of Elizabeth's final days was her refusal to lie down. She believed that if she lay down, she would never rise again, and so, in defiance of her failing body, she stood for long hours at a time. Her ladies-in-waiting were forced to arrange pillows around her to prevent her from collapsing. The sight of the aging Queen, standing for hours in what must have been increasing discomfort, served as a poignant symbol of her determination to hold on to life even as her body gave way. In the last days of her life, Elizabeth's mind was likely clouded with the emotional burdens she had carried throughout her reign. She had lost close friends, and her past decisions, such as the execution of Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, continued to haunt her. Elizabeth was known to have wept for Essex, mourning the man she once loved, and who had met a tragic end at her command. A courtier noted that in her final months, the Queen would often sit in the dark, weeping for Essex, overwhelmed by the emotional toll of her decisions. On the night of March 23, 1603, Elizabeth's condition worsened. By the morning of March 24th, it was clear that her time had come. The Queen passed away at Richmond Palace. At the age of 69, her death marked the end of a remarkable reign that had lasted over 45 years. With her death, the Tudor dynasty came to an end. The throne passed to James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England, uniting the two kingdoms under one crown. Elizabeth's reign, often referred to as the Golden Age, would be remembered for its cultural achievements, the flourishing of the arts, and England's naval victories, particularly the defeat of the Spanish Armada